Olivia Turner's fingers hovered over her laptop's keyboard as she stared at the email that would change everything, though she didn't know it yet. Urgent. Summer retreat coordinator needed blazed in bold letters across her screen, the opportunity seeming to pulse with possibility. As Harrington Pharmaceuticals' newest HR assistant, she'd been looking for a way to prove herself, and this company-wide retreat orchestrated by the enigmatic CEO himself might be her golden ticket. Without hesitation, she clicked reply and typed 5 simple words. Consider it handled. Olivia Turner. 3 months into her position at Harrington Pharmaceuticals, Olivia had barely caught a glimpse of the company's founder and CEO, Isaac Clarke. Most employees referred to him in whispers, painting him as a brilliant but distant figure who had revolutionized cancer treatment research through sheer determination and genius. At 34, he'd built a pharmaceutical empire that prioritized affordable medication development over profit margins, a rarity in their industry. The next morning, Olivia arrived at work earlier than usual. The HR department was still quiet, giving her time to compile preliminary ideas for the retreat. According to the brief, the event would span 4 days at a coastal resort, incorporating team-building activities, relaxation time, and strategy sessions for the company's next phase of growth. Working already, came a deep voice from behind. Olivia turned to find her supervisor, Marlene, smiling approvingly. Just getting a head start on the retreat planning, Olivia replied, gesturing to her notes. Well, you've certainly taken on a significant task. Typically, Mr. Clarke keeps his retreat planning close to the chest. Marlene looked impressed. You must have caught his attention somehow. I didn't even know he knew I existed, Olivia admitted. Marlene's expression turned thoughtful. Isaac notices more than people think. Later that day, Olivia's phone rang with an unfamiliar internal extension. Olivia Turner speaking. Miss Turner, this is Isaac Clarke. Olivia nearly dropped her phone. The CEO himself was calling her directly, not his assistant, not the VP of Human Resources, but him. Mr. Clarke, hello, she managed, straightening in her seat as if he could see her. I understand you've volunteered to coordinate our summer retreat. His voice was measured with a warmth she hadn't expected. I'd like to discuss this in person. Are you available at 4 today? Her afternoon was packed with meetings, but she didn't hesitate. Absolutely, sir. Good. My office. Olivia spent the rest of the day in a state of nervous anticipation. She'd only seen Isaac Clarke from a distance at company-wide meetings where he commanded attention effortlessly. At precisely 3:55 p.m., she stood outside his office, a leather portfolio clutched to her chest containing her preliminary ideas. His assistant, a stern-looking woman named Billionaire, glanced up from her computer. You can go in. Olivia knocked gently on the heavy wooden door. Enter, came that same deep voice from the phone. Isaac Clarke's office was unexpectedly modest for a billionaire CEO. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of the city skyline, but the furnishings were practical rather than ostentatious. He stood as she entered, and Olivia was momentarily struck by his height. At 6'3", he towered over her 5'6" frame. Miss Turner, he said, extending his hand. Thank you for coming. His grip was firm, his gaze direct. Up close, Olivia could see that his eyes were a striking shade of blue-gray, like the ocean before a storm. His dark hair was neatly styled, and his tailored suit fit his broad shoulders perfectly. For a moment, Olivia forgot to breathe. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Clarke, she replied, finding her professional voice. I'm excited to help make this retreat successful. He gestured toward one of the chairs facing his desk. Please sit, and call me Isaac. Olivia took the offered seat, surprised by the informality. Then I'm Olivia. A hint of a smile touched his lips. I know. The meeting stretched well beyond the scheduled 30 minutes as Isaac outlined his vision for the retreat. Unlike previous years, he wanted this one to focus on connection rather than competition. Our team needs to remember why we do what we do, he explained, his passion evident. The science matters, of course, but so do the people behind it. As Olivia took notes, she couldn't help but notice the contradiction between the man before her and the rumors that circulated. Far from being cold and distant, Isaac was articulate, engaged, and surprisingly easy to talk to. I have to ask, she ventured, why me for this project? I'm still relatively new here. Isaac leaned back in his chair, studying her with that intense gaze. Sometimes fresh perspectives are exactly what we need. Your application to HR stood out. You have an impressive background in event planning. Olivia had coordinated several charity galas during college, but she hadn't realized that would be noted in her employee file. I enjoy bringing people together, she admitted. That's precisely what I'm looking for. He handed her a folder. Here's the resort information. I've booked the entire property for our use. The budget details are inside, along with the list of department heads who'll need individual consultations. When she opened the folder, Olivia's eyes widened at the budget figure. This is generous. I believe in investing in my team. He stood, signaling the end of their meeting. We'll meet weekly to track progress. Feel free to email me directly with questions. As she gathered her materials to leave, Olivia felt a strange charge in the air between them. Something about the way Isaac looked at her suggested there was more to this assignment than he was saying. One more thing, he added as she reached the door. This retreat matters to me, Olivia. It's not just about team building. It's about shaping our future. Over the next few weeks, Olivia threw herself into planning. The coastal resort Isaac had chosen was breathtaking, a sprawling property with private beach access, luxury accommodations, and state-of-the-art meeting facilities. She coordinated with department heads, designed team activities, and arranged for renowned speakers to address the company's mission. Each Friday afternoon, she met with Isaac to review progress. Their meetings grew longer and more comfortable with each passing week, often extending beyond retreat planning to discussions about the company's vision and even their personal backgrounds. Olivia learned that Isaac had founded Harrington Pharmaceuticals after losing his mother to a rare form of cancer, a treatment for which now formed the cornerstone of their research. He spoke of his work with quiet intensity, and Olivia found herself increasingly drawn to his combination of brilliant mind and compassionate heart. You're different than I expected, she confessed during one of their meetings. Isaac raised an eyebrow. How so? The office rumors paint you as intimidating, distant, almost cold, he smiled ruefully. It's easier sometimes to keep people at arm's length, especially when decisions affect so many lives. But that must be lonely, Olivia said without thinking. Something flickered in his eyes' vulnerability, perhaps before he redirected the conversation back to retreat logistics. One evening, working late to finalize the retreat schedule, Olivia was startled by a knock on the HR department door. Isaac stood in the doorway, jacket off and sleeves rolled up, looking less like a billionaire CEO and more like an overworked colleague. You're still here, he observed. Just wrapping up some details, she replied, suddenly aware of her messy hair and the coffee stain on her blouse. He approached her desk, glancing at the scattered papers. You're thorough. I want to get it right. Isaac picked up one of her diagrams, a seating chart for the welcome dinner. You've even accounted for interdepartmental dynamics. People work better when they're comfortable, Olivia explained. And where have you placed yourself? Olivia pointed to a small table near the kitchen entrance. Staff table. I'll need to coordinate with the servers. Isaac frowned slightly. You're not staff. You're the architect of this entire event. He took her pen and made a mark at the main table, right next to his own seat. Here, where you belong. The simple gesture sent warmth spreading through her chest. Thank you. He studied her for a moment longer than necessary. Have you eaten dinner? Olivia glanced at the time, nearly 9 o'clock. I hadn't realized how late it was. There's a good Thai place around the corner. They make a fantastic pad Thai. He said it casually, as if billionaire CEOs routinely invited HR assistants to dinner. I shouldn't, she began, then reconsidered. This was a work dinner, nothing more. Actually, I could eat. The restaurant was small and unassuming, with paper lanterns casting a warm glow over the wood tables. Olivia half expected Isaac to be recognized, but the staff treated him like any other regular customer, suggesting he came here often. I found this place my first week in the building, he explained as they settled into a corner booth. Sometimes I need to escape the office without actually going far. Over steaming bowls of noodles, their conversation drifted away from work. Isaac asked about her family, supportive but scattered across the country. Her education, business degree with a minor in psychology, and her ambitions to make a meaningful difference, though she was still determining exactly how. In turn, Olivia learned that beneath Isaac's polished exterior was a man who enjoyed simple pleasures, early morning runs, classic novels, and cooking elaborate weekend breakfasts. He spoke of his older sister who lived abroad, his rescue dog Baxter, and his dream of eventually creating a foundation to support families affected by cancer. I never imagined the CEO of Harrington would be so. Olivia searched for the right word. Normal, Isaac supplied with a wry smile. Human, she corrected. Most executives I've met seem to forget there's life beyond quarterly reports. His expression softened. That's a dangerous trap in my position. The more successful the company becomes, the easier it is to lose sight of why we started in the first place. By the time they finished dinner, the restaurant was nearly empty, and Olivia realized 3 hours had passed in what felt like minutes. Isaac insisted on driving her home, and as his luxury car glided through the city streets, she felt a strange tension between them, a current of something unspoken. Thank you for dinner, she said as he pulled up to her apartment building. Thank you for the company. He turned to face her fully, his expression suddenly serious. You know, Olivia, I've always believed that people come into our lives for a reason. Her heart skipped a beat. What reason might that be? He seemed on the verge of saying something important, then shook his head slightly. Sometimes we have to wait to find out. The retreat was now just 2 weeks away, and Olivia's days blurred together in a flurry of final preparations. She barely saw Isaac, who was tied up in board meetings and investor calls. Their weekly update was rescheduled twice before being reduced to an email exchange. His messages remained professional but warm, and each one ended with a personal note asking about her weekend, recommending a book she might enjoy, or sharing a small triumph from his day. These glimpses into his thoughts became highlights of Olivia's increasingly hectic schedule. The evening before they were set to leave for the retreat, Olivia was closing up the HR office when her phone rang. Isaac's name flashed on the screen. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time, he said when she answered, just finishing up last-minute details. That's actually why I'm calling. There's been a small change of plans. He paused, and Olivia braced herself for a problem. The helicopter I chartered for the advance team can only take 3 people, and my assistant has fallen ill. I was hoping you might fly out with me tomorrow morning instead of taking the bus with the rest of the staff. Olivia's pulse quickened. Just us. And the pilot, Isaac added, a smile in his voice. We'll arrive a few hours ahead of everyone to ensure everything's in order. That makes sense, she agreed, trying to sound professional despite the flutter in her stomach. Good. I'll pick you up at 7. Exactly at 7 o'clock a.m., a sleek black SUV pulled up outside Olivia's apartment. Isaac emerged, casually dressed in khakis and a light blue button-down that enhanced his eyes. It was the first time she'd seen him in anything but a suit, and the effect was disarming. Morning, he said, taking her suitcase. Ready for the big weekend. As ready as I'll ever be, she replied, sliding into the passenger seat. The helicopter waited at a private airfield outside the city smaller than Olivia had imagined, with just enough room for 3 people. The pilot helped load their luggage, then gestured for them to board. Ever been in a helicopter before? Isaac asked as he helped Olivia with her headset. She shook her head, trying not to focus on how close he was, the scent of his cologne mingling with the leather seats. It's the best way to travel, he assured her. The views are unmatched. He was right. As they lifted off, the city unfurled beneath them like an intricate tapestry, gradually giving way to verdant countryside and then the sparkling coastline. Isaac pointed out landmarks along the way, his excitement childlike and infectious. The 90-minute flight passed in easy conversation, and when they landed on the resort's helipad, Olivia felt a twinge of disappointment that the journey was over. The resort manager greeted them personally, leading them on a tour of the property. Everything was even more magnificent than the photos from the infinity pool overlooking the ocean to the elegantly appointed conference rooms. Olivia made mental notes of final details to address, barely containing her excitement at seeing her plans materialize. "You've done remarkable work," Isaac said quietly as they inspected the welcome packages awaiting each employee in their rooms. "I knew you would." Olivia felt a warmth spread through her chest at his praise. "I hope everyone enjoys it." "They will." His confidence was unwavering. After the tour, they had a few hours before the rest of the company would arrive. Isaac suggested they grab lunch at the beachfront restaurant. "I could use your insights on the opening speech," he explained as they settled at a table with a panoramic ocean view. "I want to set the right tone." Over grilled seafood and chilled white wine, Isaac shared his draft, which outlined the company's journey and future vision. Olivia listened, then offered thoughtful feedback that he jotted down attentively. "You have a gift for understanding what motivates people," he observed. Olivia smiled. "Part of the job?" "No, it's more than that." He set down his pen. "You see people really see them. It's rare, Olivia." The intensity of his gaze made her cheeks warm, and she glanced away toward the horizon where the blue sky met the deeper blue of the ocean. "It's easy to see what matters to you," she said softly. "Your passion for the company's mission is evident in everything you do." Something shifted in his expression, a softening around the eyes, a slight parting of his lips. For one breathless moment, Olivia thought he might reach for her hand across the table. Instead, his phone buzzed with a message. "The buses have departed the office," he reported, the moment broken. "Time to transform from lunch companions to CEO and retreat coordinator." Olivia nodded, trying to ignore the pang of disappointment. Back to reality. By evening, all 200 employees had arrived, checked in, and gathered for the welcome reception. Olivia moved through the crowd, ensuring everything ran smoothly while keeping a professional distance from Isaac, who circulated among department heads and researchers with practiced ease. Occasionally, Their eyes would meet across the room, and Isaac would offer a small nod or smile that seemed meant only for her. Each time, Olivia felt a jolt of connection that left her momentarily distracted. The first full day of the retreat was packed with team-building exercises and department strategy sessions. Olivia barely had time to breathe, rushing from one activity to the next, troubleshooting minor issues and ensuring the schedule stayed on track. By late afternoon, she finally found a moment to slip away to the beach. Kicking off her shoes, she walked along the shoreline, letting the cool water wash over her tired feet. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the water with gold and amber hues. Playing hooky. Came Isaac's voice from behind her. She turned to find him approaching, jacket discarded and tie loosened. "Just taking 5 minutes to reset," she admitted. "How was the research presentation?" "Promising." He fell into step beside her. "We're making breakthroughs in the new treatment protocol." "That's wonderful." They walked in comfortable silence for a few moments, the only sound the gentle rhythm of waves meeting shore. "You know," Isaac said finally, "I've been meaning to tell you something." Olivia's heart quickened. "Oh," he stopped walking, turning to face her fully. The setting sun illuminated his profile, giving his features a golden glow. "When I first saw your application cross my desk, I recognized your name immediately." Confusion furrowed her brow. "We'd never met before I joined Harrington." "No, but I attended the Memorial Cancer Foundation Gala last year. You coordinated it." Olivia remembered the event clearly, her final major project before graduating. "You were there. I don't recall seeing you. I tend to keep a low profile at such functions. But I watched you that night, managing every detail while still finding time to connect with the cancer survivors being honored." A small smile played at his lips. "You made quite an impression." "So you remembered me, months later from a charity event." Isaac looked out toward the horizon. "When I saw your application for the HR position, it felt like, I don't know, serendipity, perhaps." Olivia tried to process this revelation. "Are you saying you hired me because of the gala?" "I hired you because your qualifications were exceptional," he corrected. "But yes, my prior observation of your work influenced my decision to fast-track your application." Before Olivia could respond, a group of employees appeared further down the beach, calling out to Isaac with questions about the evening's dinner arrangements. The moment of privacy evaporated. "We should get back," he said reluctantly. Olivia nodded, her mind racing with the implications of what he'd shared. As they walked toward the resort, she wondered what other connections might exist between them that she hadn't yet discovered. The second day of the retreat featured a company-wide scavenger hunt, designed to mix employees from different departments. Olivia had spent weeks crafting the perfect challenges tasks that required both intellectual problem-solving and physical cooperation. She monitored the team's progress from the resort's command center, where screens tracked each group's location. Isaac joined her periodically between his scheduled meetings with investors who had flown in specifically to discuss the company's expansion plans. "How's it going?" he asked during one such visit, peering over her shoulder at the monitors. "Better than expected," she reported happily. "Even the research scientists are getting into the competitive spirit," he laughed, a rich sound that warmed the room. "Never underestimate the competitive nature of PhD tickets." As the afternoon progressed, a summer storm rolled in from the ocean. The resort staff quickly implemented Olivia's weather contingency plan, moving outdoor activities inside and reshuffling the schedule. "Crisis averted," Isaac commented as they watched employees stream into the main hall for an impromptu innovation workshop. "You think well on your feet." "I've learned to expect the unexpected." He studied her with that intense gaze that made her feel simultaneously seen and exposed. "Is that your life philosophy?" "It's served me well so far," she replied, thinking of the many times she'd had to adapt to changing circumstances: her parents' divorce, the scholarship that fell through, forcing her to work through college, the job market collapse that had her searching for months before finding Harrington. "Sometimes," Isaac said thoughtfully, "the unexpected turns out to be exactly what we need." Their eyes met, and for a suspended moment, Olivia felt the air between them charged with unspoken possibility. Then his assistant appeared with an urgent message, and Isaac was pulled away once more. That evening, the resort hosted a formal dinner in the grand ballroom. Olivia had arranged for a renowned chef to create a menu showcasing local ingredients, with wine pairings selected by a sommelier. She wore a simple midnight blue dress that she'd splurged on for the occasion, her honey brown hair swept up in an elegant twist. When she entered the ballroom, conversations momentarily paused as colleagues who had only seen her in business attire did double takes. She felt self-conscious until she spotted Isaac across the room, looking devastatingly handsome in a tailored black suit. The appreciation in his eyes as they met hers sent a flush of warmth through her body. True to his word, he had seated her beside him at the main table, surrounded by board members and department heads. Throughout dinner, he made a point of including her in conversations, introducing her as the brilliant mind behind our retreat, and ensuring her contributions were recognized. After the meal, a small band began playing and couples moved to the dance floor. Olivia watched from her seat, enjoying the sight of colleagues relaxing and connecting outside the office environment. "Dance with me." She looked up to find Isaac standing beside her chair, hand extended. The request was casual, but his eyes held a question that seemed to run deeper. "I shouldn't play favorites among the employees," he added with a small smile, "but I find I'm willing to make an exception." Olivia placed her hand in his. "In that case, how can I refuse?" He led her to the dance floor, one hand settling at the small of her back as he drew her into a proper waltz hold. Olivia was surprised to discover he danced extremely well, guiding her with confident steps that made her feel graceful despite her limited experience. "Where did you learn to dance like this?" she asked. "My mother insisted," he explained, expertly turning her under an archway of their joined hands. "She said no son of hers would shuffle awkwardly at important functions. She taught you well." His expression softened with memory. "She did." In many things. As they moved together, Olivia became increasingly aware of his physical presence, the warmth of his hand through the fabric of her dress, the subtle scent of his cologne, the steady rhythm of his breathing. The rest of the room seemed to fade into soft focus background. "I have a confession," Isaac said, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "This retreat wasn't entirely about team building." Olivia looked up at him, curious. "No, I had an ulterior motive." His eyes held hers, searching. "I wanted an opportunity to get to know you better away from the office." Her pulse quickened. "You could have just asked me to dinner again. Would you have said yes? To your CEO?" Olivia considered the professional boundaries she'd been so careful to maintain. "Probably not," she admitted. "Exactly." He guided her through another turn. "Corporate dynamics make certain conversations difficult." "And what conversation did you want to have?" The music was drawing to a close, but Isaac showed no signs of releasing her. "I wanted to tell you that from the moment I saw you managing that charity gala, calm in the chaos, genuinely connecting with everyone you encountered, I haven't been able to get you out of my mind." Olivia's breath caught. "Isaac, I know it's complicated. The power imbalance, the professional considerations. I've thought about it endlessly." His expression was earnest, vulnerable in a way she hadn't seen before. But I believe what's developing between us is worth exploring if you feel it too. Before Olivia could respond, the music ended, and applause broke out around them. The moment fractured as colleagues approached, pulling them in different directions with questions and conversation. For the remainder of the evening, they exchanged glances across the room, each look weighted with unspoken words. When Olivia finally excused herself to return to her room, she found a folded note slipped under her door. "Meet me on the private beach at sunrise if you'd like to continue our conversation. No expectations, just clarity." Olivia barely slept that night, her mind replaying Isaac's words and the feeling of being in his arms. By 5 a.m., she'd made her decision. Slipping on jeans and a light sweater against the morning chill, she made her way down to the stretch of beach reserved for the resort's most exclusive guests. Isaac was already there, standing at the water's edge with his hands in his pockets, gazing out at the horizon where the first hints of dawn painted the sky in pastel hues. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said without turning, somehow sensing her presence. "I wasn't sure either," she admitted, moving to stand beside him. They watched in silence as the sun began its ascent, casting golden light across the gentle waves. "Before you say anything," Olivia began, "I need to understand what this is." "Last night you mentioned an ulterior motive for the retreat, and that came out wrong," he interrupted, turning to face her fully. "The retreat was always planned. When you volunteered to coordinate it, I saw an opportunity for us to work closely together outside the constraints of our usual roles. But you said you've been thinking about me since that gala, almost a year ago." Isaac ran a hand through his hair, a surprisingly boyish gesture from the normally composed CEO. "Yes, your application caught my attention because I remembered you. I made sure it reached the top of the pile because your qualifications were excellent, not because of any personal interest. But you've been planning this. Us," he shook his head. "Not planning. Hoping, perhaps." His gaze was direct, honest. "I've built my entire adult life around Harrington Pharmaceuticals, every decision filtered through what was best for the company, for our mission. And then suddenly there you were, making me question whether I'd focused on the right things." Olivia felt her heart beating rapidly in her chest. "I'm just an HR assistant." "No," he said softly. "You're extraordinary, Olivia. The way you understand people, the compassion you bring to every interaction, your brilliant mind. You've made me realize what's been missing from my life." The sincerity in his voice was unmistakable. Still, Olivia hesitated. "What about my job?" "The company has strict policies about relationships between. I've already spoken with legal," he admitted. "If and only if you want to explore what's between us, we have options that protect your position and reputation." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "You've been thorough." "I don't take risks with things that matter." He took a step closer, close enough that she could see the flecks of steel in his blue-gray eyes. "And you, Olivia Turner, matter a great deal." The sun had fully emerged now, bathing them in warm, golden light. Olivia thought about the past weeks, the late-night Thai food, the helicopter ride, the dance that felt like more than a dance. She thought about the way Isaac listened when she spoke, how he valued her opinions, the genuine care he showed not just for her but for everyone at Harrington. "I feel it too," she confessed finally, "this connection between us, but it scares me." "Why?" His voice was gentle. "Because you're Isaac Clarke, you could have anyone." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I don't want anyone. I want the woman who stays late making sure every detail is perfect, who notices when the IT specialist is sitting alone at lunch and finds a way to integrate him into the group, who challenges my thinking and makes me laugh and sees beyond the CEO to the person I am underneath. Olivia's resolve wavered at his words, at the tenderness in his touch. And what happens when the retreat ends, when we go back to real life? Real life is what we make it. He took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. I'm not proposing we rush into anything. Just that we allow ourselves to discover what might be possible without the barriers of hierarchy. The ocean breeze lifted Olivia's hair, and with it, a weight seemed to lift from her shoulders. There were still complications to navigate, boundaries to establish, but in that moment the path forward seemed suddenly clear. "Okay," she said simply. Isaac's expression brightened with hope. "Okay, let's see where this goes." She squeezed his hand. Slowly. His smile was radiant, transforming his entire face. "I can do slowly." And then, with the gentlest of movements, he leaned down and pressed his lips to hers in a kiss that felt like a beginning. The final day of the retreat unfolded with a renewed sense of energy. Employees commented on the success of the event, many noting it was the best company gathering they'd ever attended. If anyone noticed the subtle glances exchanged between the CEO and the event coordinator, they kept their observations to themselves. During the closing ceremony, Isaac delivered a powerful speech about the future of Harrington Pharmaceuticals, emphasizing the importance of human connection alongside scientific innovation. His gaze found Olivia's in the crowd as he spoke of unexpected discoveries that change life's trajectory. As employees boarded buses for the return journey, Isaac approached Olivia one last time in his official capacity as CEO. "Miss Turner," he said formally, aware of nearby colleagues, "I wanted to personally thank you for your exceptional work on this retreat. It exceeded all expectations." Olivia maintained a professional smile. "I'm glad it was successful, Mr. Clarke. Very much so." He handed her an envelope. "A small token of appreciation. Please don't open it until you're home." Curiosity burned as Olivia accepted the envelope, but she nodded her agreement. Unlike their arrival, they returned separately, Isaac flying back for an urgent board meeting, while Olivia took the bus with her HR colleagues. The 3-hour journey gave her ample time to reflect on the whirlwind of emotions and revelations the retreat had brought. By the time she unlocked her apartment door that evening, exhaustion had set in. She dropped her suitcase in the hallway and collapsed onto her sofa, finally remembering the envelope Isaac had given her. Inside was a handwritten note on heavy cream stationery. "Olivia, thank you for taking a chance on what might be our greatest adventure yet. The coming weeks will require discretion and patience as we navigate the transition in our professional relationship, but I want you to know I'm committed to this journey with you. My private number is below. Use it anytime, day or night. Until tomorrow, Isaac P.S. Check your email for an official HR notice regarding your promotion to Director of Employee Engagement, a position created with your talents in mind, reporting directly to the VP of Human Resources rather than to me. Your work on the retreat proved what I already knew. Harrington needs your vision at a higher level. This is not a gesture, it's recognition of your exceptional abilities. The choice to accept is entirely yours, independent of anything personal between us." Olivia read the note twice, emotions washing over her in waves. The promotion was unexpected but felt right challenging without being beyond her capabilities. And the careful consideration Isaac had given to removing the direct reporting relationship between them spoke volumes about his respect for her career and reputation. She had just reached for her phone to text him when a knock sounded at her door. Puzzled she wasn't expecting anyone, Olivia peered through the peephole. Isaac stood in her hallway, still in his business suit but with an enormous bouquet of wildflowers in his arms. She opened the door, unable to contain her smile. "What happened to Slowly?" He grinned, looking younger and more carefree than she'd ever seen him. "I lasted 6 hours. Seemed reasonable." Olivia laughed, taking the flowers and stepping back to let him in. "The board meeting ended early. I may have expedited things." He followed her inside, watching as she searched for a vase. "Did you read my note?" "I did. Thank you for the promotion offer. I'll need some time to think about it." "Of course. It's yours regardless of." He gestured between them, "This." Olivia arranged the wildflowers in a crystal vase, a graduation gift from her grandmother, then turned to face him. "I believe you." Isaac moved closer, his expression growing serious. "There's something I didn't write in the note, something I've been feeling but thought it was too soon to say." Her heart skipped. "What's that?" He took her hands in his thumbs caressing her wrists where her pulse jumped beneath his touch. "I think I'm falling in love with you, Olivia Turner." "I know it's fast and maybe it doesn't make sense," but she silenced him with a kiss, rising on tiptoes to press her lips to his. When they broke apart, both slightly breathless, she smiled up at him. "It doesn't have to make sense," she whispered. "It just has to be real." "It's the most real thing I've ever felt," he assured her, drawing her closer. As Olivia rested her head against his chest, listening to the strong, steady beat of his heart, she marveled at how quickly life could change course. Just weeks ago, she'd been an HR assistant hoping to make a good impression by volunteering for a company retreat. Now, she stood on the threshold of something extraordinary with a man who truly saw her, and valued what he found. "What are you thinking?" Isaac asked, his voice a rumble beneath her ear. "That sometimes the unexpected turns out to be exactly what we need," she replied, echoing his words from days earlier. His smile against her hair told her he remembered. "I couldn't have planned it better myself." 6 months later, Harrington Pharmaceuticals celebrated its most successful quarter to date. The company had launched a groundbreaking new cancer treatment, expanded its research division, and been featured in Forbes as one of the most innovative pharmaceutical companies in the country. At the center of this success stood Isaac Clarke, still the driving force behind the company's mission. But those who knew him well noted subtle changes. He smiled more freely, delegated more effectively, and somehow managed to leave the office by 7 most evenings. Olivia, now firmly established in her role as Director of Employee Engagement, had revolutionized the company's approach to team building and corporate culture. Her initiatives increased productivity while reducing turnover, and her department had become a model that competitors sought to emulate. Their relationship, initially kept private out of professional respect, had gradually become common knowledge within the company. The predicted complications never materialized. Olivia's promotion had removed any direct reporting conflicts, and her undeniable competence silenced any whispers of favoritism. On the anniversary of the retreat that had brought them together, Isaac surprised Olivia with a weekend getaway to the same coastal resort. As they walked along the now familiar beach at sunset, he seemed uncharacteristically nervous. "Remember the last time we were here?" he asked, guiding her toward the spot where they'd watched the sunrise together. Olivia smiled. "Of course. You told me you wanted to explore what was between us. Best decision I ever made." He stopped walking, turning to face her as the waves lapped gently at their bare feet. "This past year with you has been extraordinary, Olivia." "For me too," she said softly, noticing the intensity in his gaze. Isaac took both her hands in his. "Before I met you, I thought I understood what mattered in life. I had purpose, passion for my work, success by any conventional measure." He paused, his thumbs tracing circles on her palms in that gesture she'd come to love. But I didn't understand what it meant to share that life with someone who makes every part of it better. Olivia's heart began to race as he reached into his pocket and lowered himself to one knee in the wet sand. "I had a whole speech prepared," he admitted, looking up at her with eyes full of love. "But all I really need to say is this. I love you, Olivia Turner. You've transformed my life in ways I never imagined possible. Would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife?" He opened a small velvet box to reveal a platinum ring with a stunning oval diamond surrounded by smaller sapphires that matched the blue of his eyes. Tears of joy blurred Olivia's vision. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes, absolutely yes." Isaac slipped the ring onto her finger with slightly trembling hands, then stood and pulled her into a kiss that held all the promise of their future together. When they finally broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. "You know," he said with a smile in his voice, "some might say I've been planning this since that charity gala." Olivia laughed, her heart overflowing. "Is that so, Mr. Clarke?" "Perhaps not consciously." He brushed a tear from her cheek with gentle fingers. "But I think my heart recognized you long before my head caught up." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, they walked hand in hand along the shoreline, talking of wedding plans and future dreams. Olivia looked down at the ring sparkling on her finger, then up at the extraordinary man beside her, no longer just the billionaire boss, but her partner, her confidant, her future husband. What had begun as a simple assignment, coordinating a company retreat, had blossomed into a love story neither of them had anticipated, but both now recognized as inevitable. Sometimes, Olivia reflected, the most carefully laid plans pale in comparison to the beautiful surprises life has waiting just around the corner. And sometimes, a billionaire's strategic planning extends far beyond the boardroom to the most important venture of all, a future built on love.